Morning, everybody. How are y'all doing today? I'm doing great myself because, in the last video I said that I was kind of worried that we might be running out of content to go over. But in my community post that I put up yesterday, I said that I found a couple more videos that we have stacked up for the next few days. Starting with this one that we are going to be taking a look at today. Now, this one comes from a guy we've covered several times in the past. And he's the type of guy where if he says something bad or stupid or people call him out for it, he'll just delete whatever people were making fun of originally and then stay silent on it. A great way to handle a situation, if I do say so myself. Just pretend it doesn't exist. But yeah, the best way I can describe this guy for you new people here is he's basically like the Fox News or CNN of the console wars, in that he's extremely biased to one side, and anybody who's the slightest bit non-biased can see it. And this dude just has a history of calling out Microsoft for things that Sony does as well, but of course he'll never mention that Sony has done it. And one last thing I want to mention before we get into this, I've seen some people in the comments say that it's a little distracting if I play my background music when the video that I'm responding to also has music playing in its background. So we're gonna experiment a little bit today, and anytime this dude's video is playing, I'm gonna stop playing the background music that I was playing. Just let me know what you guys think of it. I think it'll probably be a pretty good improvement. And if you have any more feedback, then please leave it in the comments and I will always consider it. But with that long intro out of the way, sorry about that by the way, let's go ahead and get right into this.
In other news, Phil Spencer seems like he's saying nothing but negative things about PlayStation lately. And it's weird because Phil Spencer is famously known as that kumbaya guy. Let's all play everywhere where you want, except we're gonna make Starfield exclusive. The guy is always saying stuff but doing other things, so his words don't really carry much weight, if that makes sense. But
well, yes, it is hypocritical that Phil Spencer is saying let's all play everywhere, but then he makes the Bethesda games exclusive. However, at the same time, it's very hypocritical that a PlayStation fanboy would be calling out somebody else for wanting exclusives. And it's very hypocritical that this guy would call Phil Spencer out for saying something hypocritical when Jim Ryan has been on an absolute roll recently. Remember when Jim Ryan said that Xbox wasn't thinking of the PlayStation gamers by purchasing Activision, even though they were going to keep Activision games on PlayStation? Meanwhile, you have PlayStation paying third-party developers to only put games on PlayStation without even owning them. Like, the way I look at it is, if you're gonna have a game be exclusive to your platform, at least own the company. At least then you're gonna be helping to develop the game, and then it's more justified. If you're just giving a third-party developer some money to only put it on your platform, that's just scummy because they don't belong to you. And that whole thing I just mentioned about PlayStation paying the third-party developers, don't worry, that's gonna become very relevant very soon.
He was talking again. Surprise, surprise, this guy is a man of the people. He likes to talk. And in his latest comments during an interview with Second Request podcast, he stated that Sony was the one major opposer to the Activision deal. Surprise, surprise. Sony is trying to protect its dominance on the console. The way they grow is by making Xbox smaller, Spencer said.
But here's the thing, is he wrong about that? Sony's main marketing strategy is buying third-party exclusives for their console and waiting at minimum a year before they release their first-party games on PC, as Phil Spencer said in the quote that you just had up on screen. And also, in this article that he's reading from, surprise, surprise, he cut out some context, but just a paragraph or two above this statement, he points out that 70% of people in the console industry are on PlayStation, and only 30% are on Xbox. And I've got one more point I want to bring up, but I'm gonna wait until after we play this next clip. I just want all the context to be there.
Now, riddle me this, Salt Nation. How is it possible that a trillion-dollar company, which Xbox is a part of, Microsoft, is getting bullied by a billion-dollar company, which is Sony, which is PlayStation? Why is it that Xbox can't dominate the market on their own, but instead they always have to go outside and acquire things? They had to acquire IPs, not create them, with Gears of War and Halo, and you can keep going down the list. They have repeatedly failed over and over.
I mean, it's true, Xbox does do a lot of acquisitions, but let's not act like Sony is completely 100% innovative here. For starters, they only entered the video game industry because they saw the success of Nintendo. And on top of that, a lot of their great games either just were recently acquired by them or aren't even owned by them, period. Great examples include Insomniac Games with Spider-Man and Ratchet and Clank. For those of you who don't know, Insomniac has basically been doing PlayStation exclusive content for 18 years now that I've actually looked at it. But yeah, Insomniac was literally paid by Sony for over 18 years to put their games only on PlayStation, even though PlayStation didn't even own them. And a little fun fact, I actually just learned this today, Insomniac was acquired by PlayStation in 2019, meaning that PlayStation did not even own Insomniac when Spider-Man was released, which makes it even more ridiculous that that game didn't come to Xbox and PC immediately. So in my opinion, it's definitely better for these companies to just outright purchase the studios, because then at least you can say, oh, well, at least Microsoft or Sony helped with the games. They provided funding or whatever. I mean, I do agree it is kind of pathetic that Xbox can't do it on their own. Clearly, they don't take the industry as seriously as Sony, I guess is how you could say it. Mainly because, you know, they belong to Microsoft, and no matter how badly anything they do bombs, they can just keep moving on like it's nothing. But you can't pretend that Microsoft doesn't have any originality whatsoever. They established Turn 10, who made the Forza games. So yeah, I do agree that Microsoft shouldn't be crutching off of acquisitions as much as they are, but to pretend that Sony is completely innovative and they've always had original ideas, that's completely stupid. There's plenty of examples like Insomniac that show that PlayStation has had to acquire things as well. And if they don't acquire, they just pay to keep it off other platforms.
Xbox One was a dismal generation for them, making wrong decision after wrong decision, closing studios, canceling games like Scalebound. They just could not get out of their way, saying that Crackdown was on the level of Halo. Yes, Phil Spencer said that, and then having the game come out and completely bomb. It's interesting that Microsoft is trying to play the victim here.
No, what's interesting is that PlayStation is trying to play the victim, considering they stand for exclusivity. But as soon as one of their competitors wants some exclusives, then it's a problem, right? And also, are we really gonna act like PlayStation hasn't closed down any studios? Just typing into Google what studios has PlayStation closed down, you will find articles and videos covering the basically dozens of studios they have closed. Some of them as recently as the PS4 generation, a lot of them during the PS3 generation. Though I will agree the Xbox One was an absolute flop of a generation for Microsoft, besides Game Pass, really.
Satya Nadella comes out from his throne on high and talks about how he's asking to be let to compete. Honestly, I don't really care if this goes through. I've said this numerous times. Check out the podcast Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern. Shameless plug. I've said it many times on our podcast, but I don't really care if this goes through or it doesn't. I just like to see the reactions online.
Yeah, I call cap because in a now deleted video from you that we covered a little while ago, you were saying that you really hope this doesn't go through. So yeah, sorry bud, you're not fooling anybody who's seen your previous videos. You definitely do care, even if you say you don't. Although I do agree on liking to see the reactions online. That stuff is always hilarious, no matter which side wins.
And trust me, when the FTC said they were going to sue Microsoft, the Xbox fanboys' true colors shown that day on social media, saying, you know, tweeting senators, tweeting the FTC, saying they're going to, you know, throw their PlayStation 5s out the window. PlayStation's a horrible company. I saw it all. So this might drag into 2024. That's what I'm saying, which is literally insane. But what do you guys think of good old Snake Oil Phil talking about Sony being the big bad guy and wants to dominate the console market by making Xbox smaller? Let's talk about it.
I love how he always mocks whatever Phil Spencer says, but whenever Jim Ryan starts crying about something, he just completely ignores it. Again, Fox News / CNN of the console wars. And I guess we're not going to acknowledge when PlayStation fanboys were tweeting at Joe Biden and members of Congress, asking them to stop the Activision deal. No, because that would make PlayStation players look bad. And we can only have Xbox players looking bad, right? And also, no, dude, this probably isn't going to go into 2024. At least, and this is going to sound a little bit cringy, but according to my dad, this will probably be over within the first or second quarter of 2023. Trust me, he's well in tune with the business side of things. I think he knows what he's talking about, at least more than we do. But anyway, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. I just kind of wanted to shoehorn this in here at the end because I didn't want to make the intro any longer. Kind of a little secret message for those of you who watched until the end. Thank you, by the way. But I just wanted to remind you guys, we are doing a massive giveaway at the end of the year if we can hit 5,000 subs by 11:59 p.m. on December 31st. I still haven't said what it is yet, but I think you guys will appreciate it. Just a little way of me giving back. But yeah, with that said, thank you all so much for watching. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will catch you all next time.